is not and should not be viewed as a news source. Any names, places, or likenesses mentioned are purely fictional, and any information discussed is purely speculative. Guest opinions are their own and do not reflect those of anyone else. Where in the Folk is not responsible for content accuracy of any stories that are told or what people do with these stories. This show is vulgar, sometimes graphic, and due to its content, it should not be viewed by anyone, actually.
Welcome to another episode of Where in the Folk. Clarence is obviously missing tonight. He's took a trip to Mexico.
Don't drink the water.
Yeah. How's everybody doing tonight?
All right. How about you?
Good. Just it's been a crazy week for everything. It seems like all the news.
I'm glad to see you two are surviving Snowmageddon 25. Yeah.
It is
fairly well.
Is it snowing there, Stephen?
It has stopped. It stopped around noon today, and here we had around 5 inches. But the farther north you go, where my sister lives at, they had 11 inches.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, we're currently getting some more. We've still got probably 8 on the ground, and it's snowing. They said it could be anywhere from 3 to 6 tonight.
Well, this is the warmest day we've had all week, and it's just rained. So
right.
My heart goes out to you guys.
Yeah.
I love the cold. I just could do without the rest of it.
Yeah, it wasn't all bad for me. I mean, basically we just had a day off because we didn't want to take a chance on anyone getting hurt. Driving on the main roads are actually in really good shape here, but the secondary roads, they're all still covered with 5 inches of snow. So
crazy. Yeah. Well, you can tell the areas that don't deal with it much because they don't have the snow plows and all that fun stuff.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Kick us off.
All right. So, we usually do strange news. There's the past couple of weeks, there's just been events that have happened to where we've had to focus the whole show on those events. Like last week was, New Orleans and Abe.
Abe didn't show up.
Cecil ordered it and ran.
Yeah.
But last week we talked pretty in depth about what happened in Las Vegas and New Orleans. The more I've thought about the email that the dude brought onto the Sean Ryan show, that just seemed overly convenient to me. I don't know what to think about that. But that's really the only comment I have from last week on all of that. But for this week, we are focusing the show tonight on the wildfire situation in California. There's a lot of facts, a lot of weirdness going on with it. Obviously we're conspiracy theorists.
Right.
We are just merely speculating, and we've got some videos to show. And then perhaps, I know we haven't really talked about this in depth yet, but perhaps tomorrow, if everybody's free, we may get into some regular weird news. But anyway, who wants to go first?
Yeah, well, there's definitely a lot going on, and I know California is not, to hear that there are wildfires is definitely not anything new, because they've been battling them for years, for record droughts and everything like that.
Right.
And I know I was reading yesterday that they've had less than a quarter of an inch of rain since early July of last year.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's definitely, but then, you've got hurricane force winds coming through.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, that's going to exacerbate the situation.
Right.
And everything. So you want me to hop over on, the where the areas are and all that good stuff?
Yeah.
All right.
I think there's still 5, right?
Yes, and because they had some earlier that were kind of small that have been contained, but 179,000 residents are under evacuation orders. Many of them leaving their homes carrying whatever they happen to be able to grab. Another 200,000 are under evacuation warning, meaning they could be required to leave their home at any point in time. On Thursday, officials confirmed the first 2 deaths from the Pacific Palisades fire, though they did say that the death toll from the Eaton fire was 3, not 5, as they had stated earlier in the day.
Yeah, I looked right before we jumped on. The total count right now is up to 10.
Yes. Yeah. Gotcha. Of course, looting and theft is rising in some of the evacuated neighborhoods, and they've arrested 20 people. Then on Thursday, the Kenneth fire, which was a new one, erupted in the West Hills area of the city. And of course, they actually arrested a guy on suspicion of arson in relation to that fire because, people suck. I mean, if it's not bad enough, let's just go ahead and add more to it. So far, the cause of the other blazes is unknown and still under investigation. 5,300 structures have been destroyed in the Pacific Palisades fire, which is so far the most destructive in history in Los Angeles. And another 5,000 structures have been razed in the Eaton fire just outside the city. Okay, among the celebrities, and I know this list has grown too,
Right.
but it's still, that have lost their homes are Leighton Meester and Adam Brody, and they had just been, to the Golden Globes a couple days ago. Paris Hilton. The insurance industry fears that this could be one of the costliest wildfire outbreaks in U.S. history, expecting losses to be above $8 billion. Now, I feel like it's awful early for them to be making that, determination at this point. Because, they are so uncontained right now. But, a lot of that is due to the high value of the properties that are in the Palisades area. You don't have a lot of little family homes. These are huge mansions and everything. Let's see. They did say that the fire weather outlook for Southern California has been downgraded from extremely critical to just critical. But there's also no rain forecast for at least the next week, which means, of course, it's leaving conditions right for more fires. Power has been cut to a lot of areas. Traffic jams are building up. And the 5 fires that are going on as of yesterday was the Palisades, which was the first to erupt on Tuesday. That's the biggest one in the region. And that's the one that they're saying could be the most destructive in state history. It has scorched over 20,000 acres, including the upscale Pacific Palisades neighborhood. As of Thursday night, it was 6% contained. The Eaton fire is on the northern part of Los Angeles, around cities like Altadena. It's the second biggest fire, and it has burned nearly 14,000 acres. It is 0% contained.
Oh, wow.
Hearst, which is located just north of San Fernando, began burning on Tuesday night and has grown to 670 acres. They are beginning to contain it. The Lydia fire broke out Wednesday afternoon in the Acton area north of LA, and it grew to cover almost 350 acres. That one is 60% contained. And then the new one, the Kenneth fire, is on the border of LA and Ventura counties, and so far it's covered nearly 1,000 acres. But the earlier ones in the week, the Sunset, Woodley, and Olivia's, have all been contained.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm sure all those numbers have doubled since yesterday too. I just those are from last night, but
yeah,
they said that sometimes these fires are traveling at 5 football fields per minute.
yes.
100 mile an hour winds. It's just to put this in perspective, is the winds in Death Valley. There, you can look this up. There's some really big rocks out there in Death Valley, and they move. And because of the wind is why they move. So yeah. Somebody interested in that? Go check that out. That'll give you an idea of the wind.
Yeah,
It's
one of the
ghosts.
one of the the sheriff said that it looked like a nuke had hit the area. One of the folks that had passed away, they said that they found all of his bones intact, like he had just been like flashed. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like nothing left.
Almost like an Armageddon. I mean, because
Yeah.
I was watching a video this morning, and I mean, it looked like video footage because it was so much smoke. So it had that gray look of like TV from the 50s and 60s. And for a second, I thought they were comparing it to something from back then, but it ended up that it was there. It was just decimated in
Right.
the
Got
area
you.
they were showing. Yeah, it was horrible.
I know a huge thing is that State Farm canceled a ton of people's fire insurance right as this. Well, it was even a little bit before, but some people it's happened to like as this has been going on as well.
Yeah.
But the article from a couple months ago says that State Farm, which is one of the biggest was one of the biggest insurers in California, canceled hundreds of homeowners policies last summer in the Pacific Palisades, the same area that's now being devastated. The move was justified by the company as an attempt to avoid financial failure as the frequency and severity of wildfires is growing in the Golden State. As the multiple fires currently burn through Southern California, many will likely need to rely on their insurers to get back on their feet. And State Farm said our number one priority right now is the safety of our customers, agents, employees impacted by the fires, assisting our customers amidst this tragedy. Several private insurance providers have cut coverage in these areas, though, across California over the last 3 years, leaving homeowners scrambling to find options for coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying that this is a result of California's FAIR plan, which I guess is state legislature, which works as an insurer of the last resort in the state, has doubled its policies between 2020 and 2024, reaching a total of 452,000, which isn't a lot considering California's population.
Mm-hmm.
Most insurers who have limited their offer in the state mentioned the rising wildfire risk as well as the state regulations as the main reason behind their decision. They are unable to increase their premiums to a level that will match their growing risk, and companies have decided to instead cut coverage and leave the state. This has triggered an ongoing property insurance sector crisis in California as homeowners are finding it increasingly harder to find coverage.
Yeah. Well, I will say that with the homeowners insurance in Arkansas, it has doubled. And
Really?
Yes. And in a recent letter that was sent out, if your roof is over 7 years old, they will no longer pay 100% to replace the roof.
That's crazy.
Well, and I will tell you down here, okay, I live in a mobile home, and in coastal areas, the requirements on mobile homes are as high as it is on an actual built home as far as the wind resistance and everything like that. I mean, my home will withstand 140 mile an hour sustained winds.
Yeah.
You know, because like I said, they can't even bring them to the southern part of the state unless they have these certain specifications. After Katrina, there is one place in the country that I can get insurance on my home for.
Yeah. So your home, it's going to be more like a modular home.
Yeah. So, and like I said, I mean, I understand, you want to definitely be under, have enough to cover it. I mean, and I survived Katrina with no problem. I mean, we had some roof damage and some of our outer buildings and stuff. But as far as the house itself, we were not hurt, badly at all. We were very lucky. But like say, because they had so many claims, most of them left the state completely.
Crazy.
So,
I do have a video of someone actually talking about this. They weren't supposed to be here, but she does talk a little bit about the insurance situation. Let me see. I'll back it up here.
I know I'm not supposed to be here, but this is my parents' home.
I know the feeling.
And they just they got canceled from their fire insurance. So they're dealing with this. They're 90 years old. And through the state of California, because of this, they're 90 years old. They've lived in this house for 75 years, and they've had the same insurance, and these insurance people decided to cancel their fire. And we're going through this, and it just happened, and they have no fire insurance. So
you can hear the frustration there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, big time.
Yep. And and I can't even begin to imagine, not to that level,
Yeah.
And everything. I mean, and then like say, they're canceling your insurance, and without giving you any kind of, alternative, because that's even here. Like I said, we have the wind pool, the state sponsors the wind pool. So why has the state not stepped in and said, okay, they're pulling all of this fire insurance out of the state. Well, the state's going to cover one. Here's what it's going to cost you, and charge them a premium amount because of the area they're in if you have to, but at least they have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, and this is in no way me saying, one person should have had this or whatever, but people like that woman's parents will not be able to recover, whereas celebrities will be able to rebuild as soon as it's cleaned up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Landa.
Hey, Landa.
Which kind of brings us to the point we were talking about before the show. It came out in between when we were putting this together, and now it actually came out earlier today that our government has already came out and said that they're going to cover 100% of the damages from these fires, either through tax dollars or FEMA, which are also tax dollars. And this is probably the most expensive disaster that we've ever had as far as like home values and stuff go.
Right.
It's over 200 billion already in estimated damages.
And I'm perfectly fine with my tax dollars going to help people recover.
Yes.
But that said,
it's whataboutism.
You just had a huge hurricane hit a part of the country that never gets hurricanes.
Well, think of East Palestine, Ohio. They got $750. Lahaina got $750 for burning to the ground.
Yeah.
And all of the people impacted by those hurricanes got $750, and a lot of them were denied.
Yeah.
So,
$750.
So it is whataboutism, but it doesn't rub me the right way as someone who also pays taxes, that our tax dollars can fully be put toward that recovery, but not the other recoveries.
Right.
Yeah.
And that we don't have really a voice in that.
No.
I think it's terrible.
Yeah.
And this is something we'll get into tomorrow. But just to lightly hit on this. So there's counties in North Carolina that are going to be requiring the storm victims to still owe property taxes on their destroyed homes. So, I mean, we'll get to that more tomorrow, but that's just the icing on the cake that they come out today and they're like, "Oh, don't worry about a thing. We totally got it."
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I have no problem at all with my tax dollars helping people. I prefer that they help people in this country.
Yeah, me too.
But I also expect, if you're going to do it for one of the richest neighborhoods in the country, for you to do it for the poorest.
Yeah, that to me, that right there would be fair.
Yes.
Agreed.
I mean, we're not being represented in this right here.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, is this because they sent so much aid to Ukraine? I mean, they cut the budget by $17.5 million for the firefighters.
There was actually a fact check on that I threw in here.
Yeah.
The fact checkers were out in in nauseum. So the fact check was: did California donate firefighting equipment to Ukraine? Yeah. And the short answer is yes.
Yeah.
But they donated from 2022 on. They donated trucks, hoses, nozzles, turnouts, helmets, body armor, and other associated personal protective or PPE.
Yeah.
It was in the millions of dollars, but the fact check is that they're like, well, that was excess stuff that we had. So
well,
really,
it was excess then.
Yeah, and now there's a shortage.
Yeah. And yeah, I did not know this, and I saw I can't remember where I saw it, but I was reading it either last night or this morning. California actually has an agreement with that end of Canada that anytime either of them has an issue like this, they help each other. So Canada has actually sent down helicopters and planes and stuff to help with the fighting those fires.
I think I saw that Mexico has too.
Yeah.
Sent firefighters on airplanes in.
Cool.
It seemed like their response was a little bit slow, like initially, and they're blaming the winds. But those they've got those. Have you seen the 747 style planes that just pick up the big loads of water and dump them like bombs? Mm-hmm. They didn't start running those until like the second day.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you want to, we can get into a little bit of weirdness here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there was, I guess Fox News was doing a live stream of the fire, and there was a unidentified object amidst the fire. And I'll let you guys share your thoughts. I do have one plausible explanation for this after we get done watching it. I'll share after we watch.
Yeah.
World was that? Watching news coverage of the Eaton fire. There is
you see that?
Yes.
Fire, as you can see here, and it zips across the screen out of range. I don't know what we all just witnessed. I wasn't the only one that saw it. There are many other people online that.
Yeah. So I mean, it goes quick.
What in the world was that?
Watching
Fox News coverage.
Now, with that right there, I just want to interject that it was around Dallas, Fort Worth, I believe, last year, whenever they had a storm pop up, that they had something similar to this taking place. If y'all remember that.
Yeah.
The
only plot sort of like explain away that I have for that it could be something is you think about how ferocious the fire is. If that fire hit a big propane tank, that propane tank would shoot like a bottle rocket.
Yeah, it would.
Because when they were building the bridge here around Cincinnati, they used to knock tops off of them and let them fly to the river. So yeah, that's the only, like, if it's not some sort of UFO, the explanation to me would be some sort of combustible explosion, like a propane tank flying.
Yeah. The only, and of course, yes, we're conspiracy theorists. But the only thing that is off with it being a combustible is the angle that it came through at.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you would expect that to be almost straight up.
Yes.
And coming down in a similar fashion. Whereas that looked like that appeared to be traveling parallel to the ground to me.
Yeah. This is the other, there's another weird right before the fire starts. It's a big blue flash, and then they look over in that direction later on, and there's a fire. To me, though, one of the culprits is usually PG&E in these wildfires. That could totally be a transformer explosion.
Yeah, it could have been. but you don't see the flames until after it. I don't know.
Well, in the past, and I'll say allegedly, PG&E has been responsible for a lot of wildfires because they haven't maintained their electrical stuff like they should. And they have fought and won in court a bunch to keep that out of the public view for the most part.
Yeah.
What else do I got here? Oh, yeah. I got the so this is a video of a melted car. Like the metal is literally melted to the ground. And you can see next to the melted car, suspiciously, and this could be explained away with winds, I guess, if you had multiple hundreds of miles an hour wind. We don't need audio for this one either. It's let me back it up here. So you can see shrubbery, and she'll bend down in a minute, and the car is literally melted to the ground. So
I love the graphic above it.
yeah, exactly. Well, and it begs the question: if it's hot enough to melt this car, how did it not get hot enough to melt that fence or that tree?
Yeah. Okay, and I'm going to play the devil's advocate on that. All right, Hurricane Katrina, and I apologize. Y'all will hear me reference Hurricane Katrina probably, for the rest of our lives because it was a big deal. But hey, Alan.
Hey, Alan.
At the time, we had 6 or 7 oak trees that almost made like an oval around our home. Every one of them fell out from my house. Not one limb was on my house. And 2 of them were within 10 feet of my house. So,
wow.
It's crazy, the way that sometimes, but yeah, that does look awful suspicious that,
Yeah,
it does. I mean, and I guess if you go back to something that took place on September 11th, 24 years ago, I guess now, you had something similar happen where you would have half a car that would be completely burned. That was weird. The picture of that scene right there, that really reminded me of Lahaina.
Yes.
And how it took place.
And some of the videos that I'll play toward the end of just like the overall destruction, it looks very similar to Lahaina.
And that was one of the big things about that was there was, like you say, there's a car right here that's burned to the ground. There's a building burned to the ground, and then there are umbrellas.
Yes.
Just standing there.
I tried to gather as many sort of conspiracies that we could knock out with all this. The first one really isn't a conspiracy, but if you think about all these homes that are being burned down, a lot of them are pre-1970s. And it looks like a nuclear cloud over California right now from the sky. So those homes have asbestos, styrene, formaldehyde, crude oil, plastic oil, lead paint, iridium, uranium, radon. All of that is in that cloud over California right now.
Yeah.
Nobody's really talking about that part of it. That's dangerous.
There's going to be a lot of respiratory issues coming out for the people with after all this.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing about it is, like I said, that drift can go for miles and miles. I mean, it could go into other states and everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah, I mean, there are times whenever we end up with some, our sky will be a different color because sand from the Gobi Desert has made its way over here.
Or, the fires from Canada.
Yeah.
Or mid last year, I mean, the top half of the country.
That was here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
the other kind of weird things. So we already played sort of the UFO aspect of it, but there have been multiple content creators that are considered psychic or like prophetic.
Oh yeah.
One of which there was a guy named Drew the Prophet who toured this area in California all summer, warning people to evacuate the state. And I'm not going to play any of his videos, but his last message about it was like in September, and he was like, "I'm warning you, I'm warning you," and he's like, "I'm leaving," and he's a like a traveling pastor from Atlanta. The other one was a creator named Allie Carter, who is like I don't know whether she claims to be a psychic, but people take it that way. But she said to watch for explosions that cause fires in order to cause distractions and get rid of evidence. And I actually have a video of her that I'll play. I didn't realize I threw that in there. So she says that like she names a specific place where they're trying to cover up basically tunnel entrances. Or so it's a very interesting. I'll play it here, and then we can present thoughts afterwards. You see, play this one with audio.
It's different. There's cities underground. There's warehouses underground. There's actual homes underground. People build these tunnels, and they've built them for decades. There's a lot of elite celebrities. They go down there for parties.
I think she says here where there it is.
Underneath the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, California. I was there for a cocktail. We walked through the museum, the garden area, and employees led us to underground tunnels. We had to take an elevator and stairs. We had to be led. There is no way that you can just walk into a tunnel. The entrances and the exits are in your face, but there's no way that you can just walk through tunnels. You'll get stuck. You'll go deeper and deeper. You won't be able to come back out because it's hard, because the tunnel.
All right, I'll stop it there.
Yeah.
That museum did get hit.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's if you look around a little bit, you can find a pretty long list of celebrities who live in the Pacific Palisades, whose homes have been destroyed by the fires.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. A lot of them have been on various lists that we've talked about over the last year or two. Steven Spielberg's house was in there. I was surprised that Tom Hanks had a house there since he evacuated the country.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, and that's, I started talking about, who alls had burned, and I just skipped on over it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Jeff Bridges, Billy Crystal.
Yeah. Yeah. Steve Gutenberg, he was, he lost his home as well. So.
Yep. Anna Faris, John Goodman. I mean, so like I said, and again, that's horrific, just
right.
knowing that you cannot go back.
Yeah.
No, and when the wind is pushing the fire that fast, it's amazing to me that so many people have survived it.
Well, you remember how when we were talking about Lahaina, how Lahaina is scheduled to be a smart city, like on the 2030 plan?
Yeah. This
area is also scheduled to be a smart city. And you can actually go to lacity.gov/smartla2028, and they have a PDF talking about the challenges that they were going to have with infrastructure, which are no longer challenges, in certain areas.
Right, and and like I say, a lot of those, being the old, even the celebrity homes, because they're still old. And they still aren't under what those plans are pushing towards. But, Will Rogers had a ranch out there that's been there 100 years,
Mhm.
and it burned to the ground
Mhm.
and everything. So
It's also interesting to me that the 2028 Olympics will be held in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that too. And then one similarity between North Carolina and this part of LA is apparently there's a lot of lithium, which we haven't seen really anybody move in on that yet in those areas, but people are bringing it up.
Yeah, the reason why is that I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of wondering on that right there. You know what exactly it really is going on, because what the claims are from the claims are that the what do they call it, the Stuttgart area has enough lithium brine to supply the world, which is and I know they're getting ready for that. They were testing this past summer. I think I sent y'all some photos. I don't remember if I sent it to you, Morgana, or not, but I know I did Tully. It's but yeah, I mean, they've had the equipment down there drilling and dropping charges and figuring out where the brine's at.
Another thing that I don't think we've mentioned yet is I just saw what Morgana said.
I felt like he'd want to know that.
Lean back.
So one thing that we haven't talked about is the water shortage. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but like there were tons of reports of fire hydrants being empty, the infrastructure being completely drained. There's a lot of people bickering that California's conservation programs could be partially to blame.
Yes. People have been talking about that for, I know, 20 years.
Yeah. Well, I see every year farmers posting that they're struggling to get water for crops that would feed Americans. So that's always been like an ongoing thing. So there's a lot of blame there going back and forth politically. There's also people are blaming the mayor for being gone out of country and not coming back immediately.
Doesn't LA get most of their city water from the Colorado River?
Yeah.
Am I remembering that correctly?
I forget the percentages. There's a split between
40%. There's some other people who own. I don't know.
I've got the video ready. Yeah, we can play the video on who owns the water.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think part of it's groundwater too that they use.
Yeah. Snow melt and stuff like that. You know, it's a.
But yeah, here's the video that I had. I'm surprised this hasn't been taken down. Videos about this particular topic have been getting took down before I can even share, like with you guys. Let me share here.
Hi, Linda. Your city's burning down. Oh, you don't know who these people are? This is Stuart and Linda Resnick. The Resnicks own the Wonderful Company. Ironic. Palm, Fiji Water, Wonderful Pistachios. They also own preschools. They develop real estate. Linda and Stuart Resnick use more water than every single resident of Los Angeles combined. Linda and Stuart Resnick own 60% of California's water. Linda and Stuart Resnick own 60% of California's water. This California, where multiple fires are currently at 0% containment. And a 2016 study showed that the Resnick's agricultural businesses were, quote, thought to consume more of the state's water than any other family, farm, or company. So while California continues to burn, you should probably know that Linda and Stuart Resnick think everything is just wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. See, it was probably, probably 15 years ago or so now, Morgana, that people began talking about water wars. That was going to be the future battle.
Yeah.
People owning water rights.
Yeah. Well, I know one of my coworkers lived in Colorado for like 5 years. And that was one of the things that she was talking about is and I forget how, so don't quote me, but just the gist being the rainwater there, depending on when and where it falls, belongs to specific people or places.
Yeah, in some places it's illegal
And
to catch rainwater in a barrel.
yes, yes, and that was what got it started. We were talking about, because I don't collect rainwater just per se, but if I go outside and like it's been raining for 2 days here and I've got something that got left right side up, I'm going to go pour it over a plant. I'm not just going to dump it,
Right.
and everything. But yes, there are places in the country that you can get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
And that's insane.
Yeah.
I guess the last few minutes we have, you guys want to see some of the devastation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks similar to, I mean, it's very similar to Lahaina, but
I mean, on some of these pictures of the trees, I just haven't been real clear. Did the trees completely burn up as well, or some of these trees still have good leaves and look like they might survive this?
some
like
of them,
right there.
yeah, some of them do. It's hit or miss. Like it looks like a nuke hit that place.
Yes. Yes, it does. That's insane.
And I'll play all these without. Well, look at those, like that.
Yeah.
I'll play all these without audio so we can
Oh yeah.
talk. But yeah, that looked eerily similar. Do you remember that? You remember that guy that was walking through Lahaina all the time? It looked very similar to those videos.
Yeah. Well, those were some other videos that got taken down pretty quick too, because we talked about them. And then I remember when we were talking about it online, you going to open one and it wasn't there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that honestly has been the case a lot this week. Like I've been saving videos to play, and by the time we get here, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one of the big planes dropping water.
Yeah.
This is kind of a quick.
I mean, like I said, when you see those red, like the background like that, I mean, it looks nuclear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Looks like the 1984, or no, was it the 92 Terminator movie? It's green.
Yeah.
What it reminds me of there.
Yeah. That's a very good comparison.
Yeah.
And here's a slow roll of just the. Tell me this doesn't look apocalyptic. Like I'm sure you've already seen this, but still, just the dramatic effect of it. The sunrise in LA.
Yes. Mm.
Like imagine waking up to that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, and the way that it's moving and as fast as it's moving, trying to ascertain, do I stay or go?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big, we all know we're all big animal people, but that's 99% of what I watch on social media are, dog clips and stuff. And then somebody started posting animals that have been turned into shelters and stuff. I can't watch that because it's just, I'll let my house burn, but my dogs have to go with me.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of people were praying for the animals and stuff like that. Because people will leave animals a lot of times.
Yep. Wow.
But yeah, that it just keeps, like, I keep seeing videos of just like pure absolute destruction. But as we said, with everything that was going on last week, this is an evolving story. So if anything significant comes out, any updates to any of our conspiracies or anything, right, we'll talk about that on the next show. But
oh yeah, and like I said, even if nothing else, 6 months from now, because this will still be evolving.
Yes. Well, and just like with Lahaina, what did it take? It took like 8 months before they started kicking people out of hotels and stuff and saying they couldn't have their FEMA benefits.
Yep.
So we'll see how this evolves, because if it really does end up that our tax dollars are rebuilding everything here, I mean, I think that people should really, really like be vocal about. That's my wife.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Be vocal about the disparate treatment there. Like absolutely unfair.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
You know, because like I said, you know, I mean, the haves are 100% better off when it comes time to recover and rebuild.
It feels
You
that
know.
way. It feels that way. Like the whole thing gies me the have and have not vibes.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely looking more like a two-tier system.
Yeah.
In this country.
Like I think people need to start thinking beyond politics.
Yes.
And thinking more toward humanity, because I think that's the way it's going. I think
Yes.
it's just bunch of selfish people.
Absolutely so. You know, I mean, what was done to the people in Hawaii, what's been done to the people in the Carolinas and Georgia, it's
not okay.
It's not okay. I mean, we're all citizens of the same country, and we're going to treat one specific group one way, and then everybody else is just, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Or then you have people like, and this, you know, happened a month or so ago, you have an entire Amish community come down and build homes. And then the state government step in and say, nah, you can't do that.
Yeah.
For people that have nothing, you know.
Yeah. We're probably freezing to death in this winter storm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, a tiny home would look like a mansion if you're freezing in North Carolina weather.
And I'm sorry, but if the Amish build it, I'd like it in my yard. You know, it's going to be there. I mean, I've seen FEMA trailers and FEMA cottages. I'll take that Amish tiny home over that without question.
And how many people got sick from the FEMA trailers?
Yes, because of the Chinese drywall.
Yeah, and I don't know how many of those trailers were stored in Hope, Arkansas, but they had a third of the airport property covered up with FEMA.
Yes, my mother-in-law at the time lived in Louisville, which is like 20 minutes from Hope.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were over there visiting her, you could just see it was like miles of them. It was they weren't habitable.
It was unbelievable how many of those campers were parked out there at the Hope Municipal Airport.
Yep.
That was
it
was great.
What do we got going on tonight?
We are talking about Minnesota.
Weird and strange happenings in Minnesota. All the haunts, the cryptids, the lore. That's going to be in 12 minutes on the Weird Realities Network.
Yep. Weird with a Y.
Weird with a Y.
And most likely tomorrow night.
Oh yeah. We need to catch up on a bunch of articles that have been sort of flying under the radar because of the terror attacks and now the wildfire. So tomorrow night, I talked to Cecil from Mexico, and he says that we can do 8 Eastern tomorrow, tentatively. So we'll get a promo pack together, and if you want to hear some weird news, come back tomorrow night at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 California. But thanks everybody for joining, and we'll be seeing you.
All right.
Let me see here.